We've got, is it David?
Yeah.
How you doing, David?
I'm doing well. I was just watching the Kent Hovind, not the Kent Hovind, the, what's their faces, Ray Comfort and Kirk Cameron and the Rational Response Squad debate.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see that?
Yes, we did.
And they, near the end, they mentioned some things about Stalin and Pol Pot. And the Rational Response Squad didn't really give much of a response to that, and how the Inquisitors, did things that are much worse than what the Stalinists did. And so, could you give like a answer to that?
Sure. Do you want to hit it, or you want me to hit it?
Well, I guess there's this claim that there's often in these debates you get into sort of this duel of which religious belief has caused the most harm in the world, and this falls out of this, right? So atheists are pretty fond of bringing up Hitler as an example of a believer who caused the deaths of a lot of people, and what generally gets countered in that situation is, oh, well, there are other dictators who didn't have, Christian belief or whatever, or had other beliefs, and Stalin is usually mentioned, and Pol Pot, who was the leader of the Khmer Rouge in Cambodia, the killing fields and all that good stuff, or not so good stuff. Anyway, those guys usually get mentioned, and a part of an answer is yes. People who are dictators tend to do bad things sometimes, right? So that's part of the answer, is that it's not necessarily due to what they believe or don't believe. And in particular, in the case of communism, that's really not an example of atheism leading someone to that position, because communism itself is sort of a dogma, sort of a religion, and they actually suppressed other religions actively. If you want to talk about atheism in communist Russia versus atheism here in the United States, very different animals, very, very different animals. Atheism there was a dogma, is enforced by the state. It was effectively kind of forced on people, and that's not what we're advocating at all.
Yeah, there's actually a two-part response to this. I'm going to go ahead and let you go so we get some other calls in here, David. I appreciate it. I'm going to finish this answer after we let you go, but I appreciate the call.
All right.
There's actually two parts to this. One, atheism isn't a belief. It is a position on a single question. It's a lack of a belief. Number two is we don't take actions based on what we don't believe. We take actions based on what we do believe. You cannot draw a logical line of cause and effect that necessarily leads from atheism or the lack of this belief to any action. At least that's the position that I'm holding. You can, however, draw a line from a belief or a series of collection of beliefs to a specific action. In the regimes that were atheistic, that did horrible things, the atheism was irrelevant. It was, as Dawkins had pointed out, it was as irrelevant as the fact that they both had mustaches. This was not the basis for them taking action. It is possible for an anti-religionist, someone who has an active belief that religions are bad and harmful. It is possible to get from that position to actions that are potentially damning and damaging. But you cannot get from a lack of belief or a disbelief to that position. It's just not the way things work. What went wrong there was not because of what they didn't believe. It was because of what they did believe. It was because of the way they thought the world should be. It was because of a particular ideology or a particular greed or a particular disinterest and inability to care for the other people that they have to share the planet with. It was a failure of them to recognize that a cooperative society, while it's not going to be as immediately beneficial to the dictator as a dictatorship is, it is much more beneficial to the society as a whole. That's something I think we've demonstrated rather conclusively. But for them to come on and say, well, here, as Don was pointing out, well, religion's done this, religion's done this. This religion has done this bad, this one's done this bad. They've all done something bad. The difference is that there were wrongs done, not just in the name of religion, but in the proper practice of the tenets of the religion as they were known and understood at that time. That's everything from witch burning to slavery to genocide. No such thing exists for atheism. You can't even get close to it. The best you can do is say that this person was bad and they were an atheist,
But not have a causal
but
link.
not a causal link between them. But yeah, so that's where I would go on that.
Okay. Well, you answered a lot better than I did.